Everyone, welcome back.
Welcome, everyone.
We are so excited for this next segment. We are interviewing Danielle. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Danielle Butin, and I'm the founder and the CEO of the Afya Foundation.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank
Yay!
you for this. Thank you. This is amazing.
It's so nice to have you on. So we have a few questions for you. I can kick off one of the first ones, but what drew you to this work?
So I really think that right now, what led me to the work, or what is the work? I'm so sorry. It just went out.
Well, you can do both if you want, honestly. I know, sorry, my internet's a little, but what led you to doing this kind of work and getting involved?
So this is actually really interesting. I was working in an executive position. I was teaching occupational therapy and public health at Columbia 11 years ago.
No way.
And I went to Tanzania on vacation. And there in the Serengeti Plains, the most exquisite, beautiful, soulful place, I saw a woman crying alone in a tent. And I sat with her and I said, "I'm so sorry. What is happening? Are you all right?" And she said, "I am a very well respected physician in London. I am the woman's health doctor, and I came here. I took a month off from my practice to do medical mission work. And I can't save anyone. I can't do anything here because there are no medical supplies. There's no stethoscope, there's no gauze, there are no sutures to stitch people up." And it was one of those moments where you hear someone's story, much like what we're living in right now here, where you have to act and you have to do something about what you're hearing, and it's impossible not to. So I came home determined to do something about this inequity that I learned about in the middle of the Serengeti Plains, and started Afya. And Afya means health in the Kiswahili language. It is my thank you to Tanzania for whispering this beautiful work. And this is the work we do now. We collect medical supplies from hospitals all over the greater New York area, and we send them abroad. And that's our normal course of work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, hats off to you. That's incredible work. What you're doing is so special and so profound, and it's helping so many people. I have an older sister who's a physician in Nicaragua, and she expressed to my father that the situation in third world countries specifically is very, very, very sad. Unfortunately, it causes a lot of desperation and stress. So the work that you're doing is so meaningful. So tk you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. And so I have a question for you as well. We'll kind of popcorn this.
Yeah.
I feel like this will be like a
That's fine.
question. So seeing as we have proven to be globally ill-equipped for something of this magnitude, right? How do you foresee our healthcare facilities preparing now for a potential event like this in the future? Or do you think we could even be prepared for something like this in the future? What are your thoughts on?
I really think this is a pivotal moment in healthcare, and it highlights the tragic inequities of our world. Number one. Number two, I am infused with hope by the power and influence of millennials and Generation Z. I think they have done an enormous job, honestly, at pushing the inequities of our world to the forefront.
Yeah.
And we have all entered, I think, a fierce moment of change, and it has to change. It can't continue. It has to change. And I think we also all right now have the power to change tomorrow. And how we behave and the choices we make and the respect and honoring we have for people whose story we will never know, but we have influence, is now. And I think this generation in time will do remarkable things with that power. And Afya is really solely focused, and we've gotten a lot of support from this group, a lot of support. I mean, from sending supplies from across the country. One of my favorite was someone in their 20s gathered every beauty salon they could find in Kansas to get us gloves.
Wow.
And wrote the most gorgeous note saying, this is what I could do love from Kansas. I had to do something that is enormously impactful way to spend time and to contribute back. But I think what we are doing now is we are focused on PPE and medical supplies. That is our focus. It is what we do. It's what we do well. And it is a place where people who have influence and impact there can actually help. And I think that, we are one big global community, and our future is now. Our future is now.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, what is your biggest challenge and your biggest accomplishment with Afya?
So, in the beginning of March, our whole model was inverted. Instead of just collecting medical supplies from hospitals in the greater New York area and getting them abroad, we do a lot of work in Haiti and in Africa and the Caribbean. We now are looking internally. Now, all of a sudden, our attention is on our local healthcare family who made this work possible in the first place. So I think the greatest challenge is we have so much that people are asking us to help with that we need the funding to match the need. We have well vetted folks. We know we can get PPE from. We know we can keep these folks protected. And this is an important piece. There's no one front line here. So there are these brave, extraordinary doctors and nurses on COVID units. But then you have people working in homeless shelters, or you have people delivering Meals on Wheels, or you have people doing home visits for people who are domestically at risk. There are multiple front lines that need to be protected through this pandemic. So I think one of my greatest challenges is that if we raise more funds, and I'm constantly stressed by the fact that the need is right there, and the more we can fund and bring in, the more we can do. So that's my challenge. My great sense of accomplishment is that people have not come to us asking for help and have not gotten a response back. So there's a major ER in New York City where the chief resident in this ER called us at 11 o'clock at night weeks ago and said, we're out of N95 masks. We're out of them. And the next morning at 7 a.m., we dropped off 500 at his building, and he ran them into the ER. So what I feel a great sense of accomplishment around is that we have made 150 deliveries to every level of care imaginable. And we've been able to get 650,000 units of protective equipment to all of these sites. Like, we have heard people's need and we've responded.
That's insane in a great way. I mean, wow. Like, totally blown away. Totally blown away.
And this time specifically, it just reminds me so much of a call that my sister made to my father, letting him know that she was getting ready to throw in the towel. She was so stressed out. She was ill-equipped. And my question to you, my next question is, in moments where you felt like throwing in the towel, what was the singular thing that you can think of that kept you going during this time of the pandemic?
It's such a good question. There are amazing people putting their lives on the line for us. So their courage and their tenacity and their trauma doesn't give everyone else a hall pass to not show up. And they are saving us, and they're saving people we love. So that's a great question, because it is their ability to live and stay safe, saving us, that I can't throw the towel in. It is like turning your back on the family that saves yours.
That sense of community and helping one another out at this time, it's like you can't say no, you can't throw in the towel, because everyone needs the help, and we can only really rely on each other, because it's such a novel virus and we're all affected by it in some way, shape, or form. So thank you so much.
We all know someone.
Right.
We all know someone.
Exactly.
100%. That's really interesting, because earlier in our segment, a couple hours ago, we were talking about the importance of community. And so it's funny that it all ties back together, but it's so true. They say, don't bite the hand that feeds you, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's like, if you're not going to take care of the people who are keeping you healthy and alive, it's almost like a middle finger to them. It's cruel. So
So
again,
that's a really good point. What you just said is all of the trauma literature talks
mm,
about how the one way to mitigate is to act.
mm,
So if we sit and we are overwhelmed and inundated with news that paralyzes us, it completely diffuses our ability to kind of mobilize and do for others, and that feeds your soul. So this people need to find a way to act, and it can be as simple as bringing food to a neighbor, or as grand as figuring out how you're going to do something big. But the gravitas of this is not what's important. It's the
yeah,
ability to take that sense of helplessness
mm,
and galvanize it towards something that you make the difference in.
absolutely. And small acts matter, right? I feel like
Enormously.
there's this perception that you have to do everything on a grandiose level, right? But I think, those efforts help absolutely. But what I think is that consistent small efforts are really what makes a difference. And you segued right into what I wanted to ask you next, which was, if we're not able to donate directly, what can people do to support Afya and help out during this time?
We need help to spread the word.
Mm,
So, the most powerful thing people can do, besides supporting our Protect a Hero and helping to purchase and helping to make donations so that we can purchase more PPE, is
mm,
share the story and our work with your family and friends and ask them to support us, because anything and everything can save lives here.
mm.
And every mask and every face that it protects is going to make a difference. And these are our heroes. Like, we have to show up for our heroes.
Mm,
Yeah. Show up for one another, right?
yeah.
Yes.
So please share with us your website that people can actually go to and donate directly, as if you'd like.
It's afyafoundation.org. AFYA foundation.org. That would be fantastic.
Yes, thank you so much for all of your knowledge on this. This has been an amazing interview. I have one last question for you, and it's: has this novel virus made you more curious in studying epidemiology in a way that would help you learn more about how this illness travels and functions, or has your focus remained just on providing facilities with resources to protective equipment, or has it been both?
Hmm. Okay, so I take great comfort in the genius of our world of science,
Yeah.
and I have faith in them. I do. I have faith in the brilliance that is committing 24/7 to this around the world. I have decided that our contribution is going to be really highly focused on the PPE and the medical supply issues. So, a really good example of this was one of the federally qualified health centers we helped in Harlem asked us for walking devices in addition to PPE,
Mhm.
canes, crutches, walkers, because if we have those, they said, then people will be less at risk for a fall and end up in a COVID ER. So, this is what we do
Right, how
really
that can
well. Yes,
Yeah.
right?
this is what we do really well. And I think for most non for profits, the more you can really focus and contribute your area of space that makes a difference and not get involved in all, the better. So our contribution is protecting our heroes.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm so happy. I'm so proud of you. This is
Thank
incredible.
you. This
Yeah.
was such an honor and a privilege to be here. And thank you for what you're doing. Music is the best healing medicine of all. It is.
Right?
Amen to that.
Thank
We
you.
I'd love to pivot and just check in with you as a person and
Right,
see how
right.
you've been doing during this pandemic. Like, how has it affected you?
So that's a great question. My self-care has been getting better, but it has not been great. I have felt like the
Mhm.
stories that we have heard and just the heartache of people we work with has
Yeah.
been it's been indescribable. I love to West African drum and dance, and I'm finally starting to do that again.
Yes, yes. We got some
Um,
dancers up in here.
yes,
We're like,
that's part of my medicine.
I
need a
love
video, need a tutorial, please. I'm like, Fab. What else do you do for self-care practices? I know
Mm,
everyone's different. I'm a bath queen myself, but
Oh, I love
those
that.
are beautiful. That's a beautiful calming thing to do. I live in Westchester County, and there is a huge wooded, beautiful area here. And early morning when I can, I go and I walk, and I'm really quiet. And these walks are meditative and curative for me. And I've had some good screaming, crying moments in those woods where it's
those
just
are
so
Good.
priceless.
hard.
We
Yeah.
need all that. We need that.
And then I'm better.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta let it out.
You
You
do.
got that.
People have to find a way to let it out. And I think for people who are living in apartments and they don't have that luxury, something has to give. Like the top has to be let out somewhere, somehow, for each of us.
Yes,
Absolutely.
preaching. I hear that for
I heard
sure.
you mention, kind of feeling this weight, if I can call it that, from all the stories that you've heard and just the impact on that. And so I'm wondering, how do you process that? Kind of similar um,
Mm.
to the other question, Magnolia's question about, not letting it get you down, but how do you process that and release?
I act on it.
Yeah.
So, right, like there's the piece. I
Word.
can hear a story.
Donate,
Yeah.
donate, donate, y'all.
Yeah, I can hear a story and I can make it better. And that helps me to feel better
That's
is
Mm,
in the
beautiful.
showing up for others. There is one nurse who I met years ago. She was going to Haiti right after the earthquake in 2010.
yeah.
I adore her. And now she's at Brooklyn, NYU, and they were being inundated with active cases and they didn't have enough PPE. And she would email me every other day. And I kept saying to her, we've got you, like we've got your back. Don't worry about this. I promise you the truck will keep showing up and you'll meet it in the parking lot. We're going to keep you covered. Just do what you do beautifully. And that, if I had just heard her story and not been able to show up for her, I would have been out of my mind.
Mm,
Right.
yeah.
Wow. You're incredible. God has blessed
Well,
you. For real.
love
So
this work,
your
and
energy.
it's an honor to lead it.
I'm also curious. I love that you brought up the social inequities, especially between countries, and so like I wonder if you have any recommendations on resources or further education that people can go to if they want to learn more about these topics and get involved.
So I've done a fair amount of teaching at Columbia, and Columbia's website,
Yeah.
they have huge discussion in the School of Public Health. You can easily get on there and start to look at this. I would also look at Paul Farmer's work. I have done a fair amount of work with Partners in Health over the years. His work on healthcare and social inequities is amongst the most beautiful. And so Paul's done a lot of work in Haiti. And speaking, I mean, like part of this that makes me feel better around how we are managing it is we are delivering PPE to some of the most vulnerable communities in New York. And we are steadily showing up there where the majority of their staff have COVID working in
Wow.
these sites.
Mm,
And they need a lot of support and protection. But we're also about to send PPE and medical supplies to Haiti, and we're about to get hundreds of thousands of bars of soap to West Africa so that there could be preventive measures put in place. So for me, that soap project was personally beautiful because it's actually a moment of prevention in the throes of all of this tragedy. It's a way to
yeah.
prevent in indigenous communities that don't have enough soap to adhere to some of the precautions. So
Wow.
I would say I would check out Paul's work and I would look at some of the work on Columbia sites because they're doing a lot in this area.
Incredible.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. And okay, I have a fun one and a controversial kind of one.
Okay. Okay.
Which one
Okay.
do you want to do first?
You decide. You decide.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to do controversial first. Okay.
Okay.
Um, so the clapping for the nurses and for the essential workers, do you think that that is helping, or
That's
do
a
you
good
think they're annoyed by
question.
that?
That's an interesting question. The nurses I know appreciate it.
Okay, great. Good.
They appreciate
Good.
it.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm
they
glad.
appreciate it, and the level of, like, the fact that people are just every single day remembering them and creating something beautiful. Music. They're creating music to honor them, means a lot. Like, I have a lot of nurse friends who have reposted on social media. They've commented on it. It feels like it is so isolating, this work right now for them. They go home and they have to isolate and they have to quarantine. So for them, it is a
They
community
want
that is
it.
holding them with
Yeah.
music.
Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Right? No, for
I
real.
would
I mean,
cry. I would cry. I'm a sensitive gal, but
same.
I would be like, you
Guilty.
know,
For sure.
it's exhausting work. I can only imagine.
And
Um,
to have a community cheering and playing music is
And
cool.
doing things like this, it's so helpful, I feel like, for people,
Yes.
yeah.
right?
Yes.
Okay, so then the fun question is you gotta mix it up, you know?
Yeah.
It's okay.
The fun question is, if anything was possible, where would you see Afya going in the future? You know, like what's your goals? What's your dreams with this company?
I think we're going to be remaining in pivot to COVID until there is a medication that can treat it. So I think we are looking at months of this work. And I love to innovate and I love to create ideas. So in the midst of it, we are innovating all over. So a good example of it, I am drawn to innovation, right? So I love new ideas and new construction and getting my team to think this way. So we have thousands and thousands and thousands of operating room drapes in our warehouse.
Whoa.
Thousands that we had been gifted from ORs. And the reason we have all these supplies is because regulations insist on it. So if either of you had surgery and there would be sterile supplies that were in the room of your surgery and no one touched them, they'd have to be thrown away. So we get them. That's half of what we're getting, which is amazing. Okay,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
amazing. Instead of being
Recycling.
thrown away.
Yeah.
So we are now working with nurses who've created patterns to turn those gowns, those drapes into disposable gowns that everyone needs.
Wow.
And so now all these seamstresses, while they're making masks, they're also turning our drapes that would have just been drapes into gowns. And so where do I see us
Wow.
after we're innovating constantly and figuring out what we can create from what we have and what can we be creative with? I want to be the place where districts in healthcare abroad can recuperate and recover with constant access to supplies. I want to impact communities so that, is it, think about New York City and parts of the world that have no healthcare, like that story I told about the doctor in Tanzania. I want to go in and wrap circles around communities and change them with access to care. If you don't have health care, you can't recover and live. Like, it is the basic essence for everything we do as humans, and we're seeing it with COVID. We have to have, it should be a human right. Healthcare should be a human right.
Amen.
Yeah.
Round of applause for that. Seriously.
I
And
really
it's so true. Like, it's affecting everyone. And I think that it goes to show how things like this really make a difference, doing little DIY
Yes.
projects and bringing together people to have those resources that they don't have. They don't have access to them. So it's incredible work that you're doing, Danielle. And this has been so wonderful speaking
Thank
with
you.
you today. Yeah.
Thank you.
how
Oh,
did I know
thank you.
fashion was gonna come up? I'm like,
Right? We're like, this is a fashion movement as
yeah.
well.
We're mixing outfits. I'm like, yes. But really, it's like that just goes to show you can really repurpose and do so much with what you have. And I really appreciate how global your thinking is, and your actions are too. I think it's very inspiring. So thank you so much again for coming on. Is there anything else that you want to say while you have this time? Like any offering?
No, I think this is a time for all of us to give back and find our way in the smallest, most powerful ways that speak to each of us. I really do. We would love your help. We'd love everybody's help. We need everybody's help. But then in your own lives, there's a chance here to like find a different cadence during this time.
Absolutely. And what's your advice maybe to people that feel helpless and like they can't help in any way? What would you say to that person that feels like they're at a loss?
We can call someone who needs a call. We can write a letter to someone who needs something. It is in the altruistic acts for others that we come back to ourselves. If you're ever in a terrible mood, do something beautiful in another person, and you are going to be different as a result of it.
Mm,
Beautiful.
that
Well,
is
you heard it here
incredible.
first, y'all. Founder of the Afya Foundation. You can get
This was
involved.
a treat.
Yes, you can get involved on afyafoundation.org. And also you can find ways of donating through ship-ing.com. You can donate, check out the merch store. It's all available to you guys online. It's all virtual. And we're so happy that you are a part of this with us today.
Mhm. Thank you for those powerful words. And I hope
you.
you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. And you. Bye. Thank
Me
you.
too. Bye.
Hugs, virtual hugs.
Yeah.
Yes, big ones. Bye. On March 12th, COVID-19 came knocking on Afya's door and we responded intensely.
Well, I know what I've been told. You gotta work to feed the soul. But I can't do this all on my own. No, I know I'm no Superman.
I came across the Afya Foundation when I was attending graduate school. Little did I know that years later that I would be actually reaching out to them for help. It has been physically, emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually draining for all of us.
We did a massive outreach to everyone across the country. Over 650,000 protective items have been delivered to hospitals, health centers, and community agencies in New York. Late one night, an ER doctor for a major hospital in New York called us and said, our hospital is completely out of N95 masks. I don't know how we're going to work on this. And the next morning, we delivered to his apartment 500 masks that he ran into the ER to protect his team.
Personal protective equipment, or PPE, encompasses things like gloves, gowns, face shields, face masks, and goggles. These are all things that clinicians and nurses now need just as much as we need our stethoscopes.
We were having to reuse equipment. Now we have masks for all of our staff and all of our kids. We are serving over 300 young people a night.
Alpha recognized that QCP is just the same as hospitals, that they're looking after these fragile individuals.
Our patients are essential workers who do not have the option of waiting this pandemic out. For them, not working often means not having the economic means to even put food on their table. Because we have our PPE, it means we're able to take care of them medically speaking and economically speaking. Generous donations, such as from Afya, allow our staff to feel like they have the tools and equipment they need in order to take care of patients with confidence.
The more we can keep people safe as they're caring for people who are sick or vulnerable, the better they will be at being able to continue and to do exquisitely beautiful work during a time of crisis. Thank you for your support. Thank you for helping Afya do what we do best. We show up during a crisis. We get the work done.
Thank you, and for everybody out there, please continue to stay safe.
But I can't do this all on my own. I know that I'm no Superman. I'm no Superman. All together now. Someday we'll be together. Someday I'm no Superman. Thank you, and 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 you.